Hi, I'm Adam Holwerda, and this time on This Book Exists, I'm talking about The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch by Phillip K. Dick. This is probably the third Phillip K. Dick book that I've read. I'm halfway through the exegesis, which is quite a large book, but in the exegesis, he talks a lot about the books that he's written and how those go into him understanding his own religious experience that he has in March 1974. In this book, it's about a guy named Barney Mayerson, who's a precog. Precogs are people who can see multiple versions of the future. And they can tell you basically, okay, this one thing is going to happen in about 45 to 50% of the futures. Barney Mayerson works for another character named Leo Bolero, this tycoon character who is not a precog, but someone who's taken a sort of an evolutionary experimental procedure that is supposed to transform him into the most evolved human. People who are evolved, they become this they have a rind melon-shaped head that starts to happen, and they become just very smart, except for some people, like a character named Emily in the book who's a potter, who, when they have this procedure, they actually devolve. This book, it's essentially a thought experiment of what would happen in the world in which there's this product and this drug that's being sold. You, as a character in this world, you get drafted to go live on a colony on Mars, and there's nothing to do on Mars. And so the people who live there, they're supposed to be tending to their gardens, but they all hate it because they get very depressed. There's this product called Can-D, pronounced candy, and people chew this candy. It's a hallucinogenic drug that puts them into the body of a little plastic figurine called Perky Pat, and it's illegal. But the way that they get around it is by selling these little, what they call layouts, which are like little doll houses that have little dolls that you can pretend to be, although the drug actually lets you be these people. There's a character named Palmer Eldritch who's an explorer, but he's an explorer of space. So this explorer, Palmer Eldritch, he goes all the way to Saturn, and he spends 10 years going to Saturn, and then he comes back, and he's got this new product, a competitor drug called Chew-Z, Chew-Z. And basically what Chew-Z is, it's candy based on a titanian lichen, they say, and lichen like a mold or a fungus, not like a werewolf. Chew-Z is the way in which Palmer Eldritch, the man here who's mentioned, is planning to take over reality that humans have. Because Chew-Z is a lot more freeing than candy. You're not just locked to a little dollhouse layout. In fact, anything that you want to happen can happen, and it can happen for as long as you want it to happen. But it has this sort of weird quality to it where there's a person in there with you watching you, and they notice, everyone who does Chew-Z notice this presence that's in there with them. And Palmer Eldritch has three things about him the way that we recognize that it's Palmer Eldritch. He has a metal arm, he has slits for eyes, and he also has, there's a third thing that I can't remember right now, but these are the three stigmata of Palmer Eldritch. So on Mars, people are eating and chewing this drug and becoming these little dolls and living these lives as though that life is real and their life on Mars is the fake life. And there's a good part of the book that happens in, I would say, dream space, or in these layers of dreamlike reality in which the character is in a loop or cannot figure out if he's in base reality or if still in a Chew-Z reality, because characters that they're talking to will start to have some of the stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, which means he's actually controlling whatever the people are doing. Palmer Eldritch, who's very lonely and is not actually, I'll not give away the book because I think it's interesting to read it, but it is entering into a conversation with this extra dimensional being, which may or may not be God or this all-encompassing, powerful mental self. And still, we are wrestling with reality, and we don't understand what reality actually is. How do we reconcile our mental health with our aspirations to go to Mars and to do all these other things with our technology? The last, I would say, 100 or so pages read like we're not sure who the main character is, and we keep jumping around, and finally we're like, okay, he chooses a main character, he chooses a direction. The character does seem to be he's worried about getting back his life with this ex-wife named Emily, the potter, who's devolved slightly based on her taking that revolution treatment set up by her current husband, who's another side character. This book, it's one that's mentioned a lot in the exegesis, and this is why I was like, I feel like I need to read this in order to grasp what it is that Phillip K. Dick is talking about in the exegesis regarding his 374 experience. So I would definitely recommend the exegesis. Very interesting book. And I guess if you're going to read the exegesis, you might as well read this book. So yeah, this book exists. It's called The 3 Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch. And I'm Adam Holwerda, and I'll see you next time.